So today we've got a little something to have a look at. Now this is something that I got a couple of weeks ago as a boneyard airsoft pistol, and I was quite pleasantly surprised actually, because I was expecting it to be quite rough and ready, but I'll show you what I found. So here we've got a WE Browning high power. It's one of the earlier models, as in it's designed to look like one of the earlier models, with the adjustable sight on the back, which is quite neat actually. Reading a bit about the history of this particular model, from what I can gather, it was designed for a contract for the Chinese. This would have been about 1930s or somewhere around that, and they made a load of them with this additional sight on the top, but then the Chinese cancelled the contract, so I believe they all went over to the Canadian Armed Forces and were used out there by the Canadians. But as an airsoft model, it's really nice. It's quite heavy compared to some of my other airsoft pistols. Funny story, in the picture that I originally saw it must have been kind of like, I don't even know how he had it, but it looked black, and so I thought I was actually buying a black one, and it wasn't till the chap sent me a photograph of it going into the box that I realised actually it's the nickel one. So anyway, so yeah, nickel Browning high power, but yeah, quite pleased with it, I must admit. Now the chap I bought it off said it would fire a couple of shots and then it would just vent, or it'd fire 2 or 3 BBs at a time and then just vent, and it was having all kinds of problems. He did also mention that the magazine was leaking, so we're going to have a look at that today. My first test shots of it are that it actually seems to be behaving itself. So I'm wondering if we were just using, gas that was just not right for the temperature, or maybe not enough gas, or maybe the magazine needed purging, or, one of those usual culprits. But we'll come back to that anyway. So I shall pop that there for a moment. But the main thing we're going to look at right now is this magazine. I just want to show you a bit about these. Now, I'd not come across one of these before. So normally on a magazine, you have the fill valve on the bottom, and in the top, you have the exhaust valve. Well, in fact, you've got the exhaust valve and the exhaust vent. And then you would normally have some removable plastic feed lips. But on this one, the part of the actual casting, I don't know if you can see there, but they're a kind of part of it, which I've never come across before. I would have thought it'd scratch the hell out of the BBs and cause problems in your hop unit, but I mean, it must be okay. A bit funny to feed as well, because on all my other ones, to load in fact, on all my other BB guns, you'd kind of slide this back and fill it here, except it'd be here. Obviously on this one it's on the side. So I guess I'll have to pull that back and then feed the BBs in the front here. They won't go in the top by the looks of it, because it looks a bit tight, but they will go in there. So we'll give it a go anyway. So first of all, let me get some gas, and we'll gas it up and we'll see what it's doing. So I'm going to use a bit of red gas. So let's get a bit of gas in there. Right, let's have a listen. Oh, there you go. It vents when you tip it up, but you can hear it, and I can't tell where that's coming from. The feeling it might be coming from this seal rather than the fill valve. Not too sure. But I mean, it seems snappy enough. Quite impressed with that. That's that degassed. Right, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop the valve out. I'm going to pop these two plates out. We'll see what we can find. Because I have a funny feeling it's going to be a really simple fix, this. I love boneyard guns when they're not that broken. I hate boneyard guns when everything you come across is broken. But, you know, that's life, isn't it? There we go, 2 pins out. So that slides out. And in there we've got the chamber, the gas chamber. And we've got the feed spring and the follower. So that's okay, we don't really need to touch that. So on here we've got a seal, which looks okay. That was a little cut, but it's okay. And that's the valve, which for some reason goes up a great big tube inside. Not quite sure what the reasoning behind that is. That O-ring actually is quite stiff. Yeah, it is quite stiff, that actually. You can see it's taking a bit of a set. So I'll try it again. I'm wondering if that's maybe sat on a rough surface, because, I mean, theoretically, if that's not sat on a dead, flat, nice surface, it's going to make it harder to seal. You can see there's some moulding marks here. And obviously that seal sits against that, which then sits inside that. So we have to make sure that's going to seal against that, you see. So it's kind of sealing it from the outside to the inside. So it's sealing it sideways. And it feels quite hard. I would think that should feel a lot softer. Certainly a normal O-ring would feel a lot softer than that. So we'll have a little look. But it comes apart nice and easy. Let's pull this spring out. Oh, there you go. So that's on a taper. So that comes out. I've got to say, this magazine is really nicely made. Really nicely made. I think we'll leave that for now, unless this doesn't fix it. We'll fix this. Oh, we'll have a look up here. But I do think, I'm 99% sure it is leaking from the bottom. Right. So I've got a bit of grease, a bit of Abbey silicone grease. So what I think I shall do, let's just give that a bit of a wipe in there, just make sure there's no gunge lurking inside. And give that a bit of a wipe too. Yeah, to be honest, that must have been okay at some point. You know, it hasn't just kind of got all lumpy and bumpy overnight. So I think we'll just kind of roll with that and see how it works. Let's just pop this valve out, actually. I have come across these before, where previous owners have really over-tightened them, and it knackers up the little O-ring that's just there. And that one does seem to have a bit of a square profile to it. But again, I think it's just all taken a set. It's hard to tell. There's not an awful lot you can do with these valves, you know. When they get really bad, they're kind of dead. Yeah, it's definitely still got springiness. What I'll do, I'll stick a little bit of silicone grease on that, just a teeny bit. Just get a bit so it's on both sides of the seal. There you go. Let's pop that back in. Excuse me if I sound a bit croaky. I seem to be developing a bit of a cold. I think I've caught it off one of the kids. There you go. So I won't wind that down too much. Right, let's get a bit of grease on there. Obviously, as I'm sure you'll already know, use silicone grease on all this sort of stuff, not normal grease. We don't want any actual grease or LM grease or anything like that. Stick to them for your car. Right, bit of grease on that. So that's going to sit. So that's going to sit on that inside face. It feels clean in there. The whole gun, to be fair, is clean, but there is a bit of compression there. So I think we'll be okay. Let's pop the follower back in and the spring. And these go back in. Can't remember which way they go back in, but they go back in. Try to do this with one hand. They've got a bit of a taper on one end. So we'll go tapered way in. Just press them home with the side of the old tool. There you go. Right, let's get some gas in that, see what it does. If it's still playing up, I'll order some O-rings. Yeah, I'd say that's still playing up. But seems to have stopped. I would say it's definitely that O-ring. But you know what? I can't hear that now. Still think it's that O-ring. But it has gone quiet, and all the kind of prodding and poking seems to be staying silent. Well, what I'll do, I'll pop some BBs in it. I'll take it to the range. We'll fire a few shots off. We'll chrono it. And we'll see what we can do. Like I say, I'm pleased with this. I bought it as a boneyard, so I didn't expect too much. I did expect it to be black, and then realised just before the chap sent it that it was actually the nickel one, which I was a bit... But then actually, having seen it, it's actually really nice. I haven't got anything like this. It seems to be fairly accurate to the real one. Obviously, there's no markings on this being a Wii. I suppose you could always have that engraved if you really, really wanted to. But overall, I'm pleased with it. It's nice and heavy. These aren't real wood. They're kind of like a faux wood. But they seem to, you know, they do look real. And from what I've seen of the pictures of these early ones with this wood grip, it's the right colour and everything. So, yeah, seems to be quite nice. Obviously, an absolute swine for fingerprints. So we'll just wipe them off. But yeah, overall, pleased with that. I didn't pay a lot for it. I think I paid £25 for it. So yeah, bargain, and seems to work okay. Right, I'll see you in the next one.